Welcome to my classroom. Today we will start with a very important topic, soil water. In fact, water is an important component of hydrological cycle or commonly called as water cycle. You are very much aware that this water cycle, if this is a landscape on earth landscape, we have vegetation over here. So what happens that the precipitation, when it falls on the surface of the soil, some of this water it infiltrates into the soil, what we call as infiltration. After the infiltration, this water gets redistributed into the soil. Some of the water may move like this, what we call as seepage or lateral movement. Some of the water may go down into the root zone, what we call as percolation. And if this is your root zone, so water moving out of this root zone, we call this process as drainage. So this is how water gets. Then through capillarity, some of this water from different layers, it may rise up through capillarity and it gets evaporated. So this is another process, evaporation, whereby the liquid water is converted into vapor form and ultimately gets evaporated into the atmosphere. Similarly, from the plant surfaces, we have another process of evaporation, what we call as transpiration. So evaporation plus transpiration, it helps in water going up into the atmosphere, and there the water gets condensed in the form of clouds, and these clouds, when they are laden with moisture, they come down, temperature increases, and precipitation is there. So this is how this water moves. Then, as I said, some of this water infiltrates into the soil, some of this water may go as runoff. So this may go as runoff into the streams, into rivers, and ultimately to the oceans. So similarly, again from oceans you have evaporation, and again water goes up into the atmosphere, condenses into clouds. This is how the water cycle moves on. Now in soil, as I said, this is root zone. Then after root zone, we have a zone which is called vadose zone. This is basically unsaturated zone where the soil is unsaturated, and then we have another zone what we call as capillary fringe. This is almost saturated, and after that we have water table. So this is the water table from which we draw water. So ultimately, whatever water gets into the soil, it gets stored in water table, and this groundwater becomes a resource of water, not only from the human beings who draw water out of this groundwater zone, but also from the plants, because this is the water through capillary fringe, through vadose zone, or through ultimately it comes into the root zone, and the plants, they can survive even if there are no rains. So that's why I said that water, particularly soil water, it plays a very important role in the root zone. So first thing is that it moderates the the micro environment. If there are harsh weather conditions, temperature is very high, we irrigate the fields just to moderate the micro environment of the field. Similarly, if it's extremely cold, frost conditions are there, again we apply a light irrigation, even if its plants may not require water, but still the remedy is you apply light irrigation, because specific heat of water being maximum. So during frost conditions as well as during high temperature conditions, we apply this water to the soil or irrigate the soil, irrigate the fields, simply to moderate the microenvironment for and which is good for the plants to flourish. So, first thing is moderation of the microenvironment. Second thing is that even if the rains are not there, or between two irrigation there may be interval of say 1 month or so, still the plants do not die, because water is already stored for crop plots. It could be there in the root zone, then in vadose zone. This water is used by the plants, I mean maybe between two irrigation intervals, or you can say in dryland areas or in rain fed areas it may survive say up to 4-5 months. And the forest trees, we never need to irrigate those plants, so they get their moisture from the soil, from water which is stored in the soil. So soil itself is a huge reservoir of water. And apart from this, water is very important for the uptake of nutrients. Water is itself important for different physiological and metabolic activities of the plants, but at the same time all the nutrients present in the soil are taken up by the plants in solution form, and that is why the presence of water is there. If it is a dry soil and nutrients, whether you add nutrients or inherent nutrients are present in the soil, these nutrients will not be available to the plants because soil solution will not be there. So these are some of the important points that why water is important. In fact, if I say that without water no life would have been possible on this earth, whether human or plants. But at the same time, it is very important to study that what is the dynamics of water in the soil, how water moves from one point to another point, how water is taken up by the plants. So that understanding will help us in scheduling irrigation to the plants, in managing water, and at the same time in managing the groundwater source, which is very important source for us. Because even if our reservoirs they get dried up, still we can draw water from the ground. And presently for I should say in our state of Punjab, Haryana and UP, almost 78% of water used for irrigation is drawn from the groundwater source. And in Punjab and Haryana, if we say that that even if the drought conditions are there, still our crop yields are ensured. This is only because of the presence of groundwater which is used for irrigation purposes. So after this let us study the structure of water. You might have studied structure of water in your lower classes, but still just to have a quick revision of it. Water, it is H2O, two atoms of hydrogen which are joined by covalent bonds with oxygen atom. And oxygen is electronegative, it has a negative charge. So this is it forms a bond with hydrogen, and these hydrogen atoms they form a bonding with oxygen atom, and these are inclined at an angle of 104.5 degree. So because of the sharing of electrons, rather I should say because of unequal sharing of electrons, this oxygen atom it attracts it's more negative, I should say it's more negative, and on this part this is more positive. So in other words, if I say this water molecule, if I say this is a water molecule, so it becomes a bipolar. It has net negative charge on one end and positive charge on other end. In fact, this bipolar nature of water molecule makes it enables it to draw the dirt or dust from our clothes. That is why when we clean our body, we make use of the water. Similarly, when we wash clothes, the water it detergent particles, they are also charged particles, so they attract the dust particles, and ultimately water attracts the dirt particles, detergent particles, and these get washed up. So it is only because of the bipolar nature. Second thing, that this bipolarity is also important in the soils, in retention of water in the soils. So if I say that how water is retained in soil, retention of water in soils, supposing this is your soil solid, and most of our soil solids, particularly clay particles, organic matter particles, they have either net negative or net positive charge. When water is added into the soil, so these water molecules, they get attracted towards the soil solids, and their negative end will be attracted. Here if it is negative charge, the positive end of the water will be attracted, similarly like this. And this bonding or this force of attraction, this is very high. This could be as high as 10,000 atmospheres or 10,000 bars. And this water is, since it is very strongly attracted towards the soil solids, so plants, they do not have such energy to take this water. So even if this water is there, it may not be available. It is rather not available to the plants. So as we move away from this soil solid, then there will be another layer of water, then another layer of water, and this force of attraction, it decreases with the distance. More the distance of water layers from the soil solids, less will be the force of attraction. So at one point it could be 31 atmospheres. In fact, 31 atmosphere is that stage, supposing you have an oven dried soil, and you place this oven dry soil in a chamber which has 100% relative humidity. So at this stage, the soil particles, they will attract moisture from the atmosphere, moisture from the air, and that moisture which is present after the moisture from the air is attracted, that is held with a force of 31 atmosphere. We call this as hygroscopic coefficient. And again, the amount of water present at this stage, this is never available to the plants. Then again, as you move further, then this force of attraction may decrease to 15 atmosphere, and this 15 atmosphere, we call this as permanent wilting point. This is if the moisture content in the soil, it reaches at this stage, that means it is held with a force of 15 atmosphere, the plants, they get wilted up completely, they get permanently wilted up, and even if you apply re-irrigate the fields, the plants will not regain their vigor. So this is called permanent wilting point. Further moving away from the force of attraction, then decreases to 0.3 atmospheres or 0.3 bars, we call this as field capacity moisture content. In fact, this is the most ideal moisture content present in the soil, and plants can easily take up this water. So water present between field capacity and permanent wilting point, we call this as available water. This water is available to the plants, but as you move from field capacity towards permanent wilting point, the availability of water, it gets decreased. Ultimately, when soil has a moisture content at permanent wilting point, this becomes unavailable to the plants. And after that, whatever water is present, this will now be present in the pores. So if I say over here, this is another soil particle. So in between two soil particles, this is in fact, I should say, this is soil pore in which water is retained. So like this. Now when water is, whole of these pores get filled with water, then the force of attraction may get 0 atmosphere. So that means now at this stage the soil solids, they do not attract the water molecules. So water is flowing freely in the pores. We call this as gravitational water. And the soil is said to be saturated. That means in the soil pores, now there is no air, all the pores are filled with water. So this is how, because of the bipolar nature of the water molecules, this water is retained in the soil. Now next, just to brief, just to summarize this retention of water in the soil, so I will make it bit more clear. That means you have first of all hygroscopic coefficient, where water is held with a force of 31 atmosphere. Then this, after this we have permanent wilting point, this is 15 atmosphere, and this is basically unavailable water. We call this water as unavailable water, which is not available to the plants. And then we have field capacity 0.3 bars or atmosphere. So between field capacity and permanent wilting point, we call this as available water. And if I say from, okay, then ultimately you have here gravitational water. This is 0.0 atmosphere. So there is no force of attraction, and again this water will be unavailable to the plants. Why it will be unavailable to the plants? Because when gravitational water is present in the soil, then you don't expect any air to be there. So that is why this water, even if it is present in plenty in the soil, it is not available to the plants. So this is how the water is retained in the soil. Now, in order to explain the retention phenomenon, I should say there are two forces responsible for this. One is force of adhesion, which we just now discussed. Another is the process of capillarity, or better I should say, because it depends upon, it is surface tension. These two forces are, very important in determining the movement of water in the soil. Now, as I said, if I take a cross section of soil, these are soil solids. Now since as I told you, when water is added into the soil, so first of all this water will be attracted by the soil solids, forming a thin layer like this. So this is because of the force of adhesion. and ultimately this thin layer goes on thickening and all the pores they get filled with water, and we call this as soil matrix. Soil matrix in fact is the word used to describe soil solids as well as soil pores. Now let us see how this force of surface tension acts. Supposing just like you have already studied the phenomenon of capillarity. So let us assume that this is a soil pore, I mean micropore, which behaves just like a capillary pore. In this, why water rises up through the process of capillarity? First of all, the force of adhesion. Because of the force of adhesion, the water molecules are attracted towards this the capillary or walls of the capillary. So here in this case means soil solids. So because of this force of adhesion, this meniscus becomes concave. Once this meniscus becomes concave, the surface tension force comes into play. So surface tension tries to flatten this, because it has a tendency to reduce the surface area of the water, because surface area of concave, when it is concave meniscus, surface area is high, then it tries to once surface tension makes it flattened, again force of adhesion comes into play. So this again makes, so this process goes on till water rises up to a certain height. Let this height be h, and then after rising a certain distance, the capillary process it stops. Now see what is the upward force now, which is because of which the water rises up. So this upward force is your surface tension, and that surface tension, it acts all along the circumference. Assuming this to be a tubular I mean cylindrical pore, so its circumference will be 2 pi r. 2 pi r times surface tension, and this is when it forms a concave meniscus, there is a angle theta, which we call as contact angle. So this contact angle, it varies with the type of the liquid. So cos of theta, this is the total upward force. Now the downward force, because when water rises up, there is a certain force which tries to bring it down, and that is the gravitation force. So the net downward force, this will be equal to pi r square. Now what is pi r square? This is cross section area times h. So this means the volume of the water column. So this is volume of the water column, then times density. When you say density of water, then it becomes its mass or weight, and then acceleration due to gravity. So this is the net downward force. So water is rising up, this downward force is trying to pull it down, and when the two forces become equal, there is no further rise of water in the soil or in capillary pores. So let us make these two forces equal. 2 pi r surface tension cos of theta. Now here if you try to find out h, what will be the height of rise, up to what height the water will rise. So this will be h will be equal to 2 sigma cos theta divided by density of water, then r, radius of the pore, times acceleration due to gravity. Now here this value of theta contact angle is very, very small. So let us assume that this approaches to 0. So cos 0 means 1. So if theta approaches to 0, So cos theta will be 1. So then you are left with H is equal to 2 times surface tension divided by R. Density of water is again 1. Density of water is 1 times acceleration due to gravity. Now you know this is constant surface tension, this is constant. So taking the surface tension value of this surface tension, we will take it to be 72.75. This will be newtons per meter, and G will be 9.81 meter per second square. So taking these values, this will become, H will become 0.15 divided by R. So 0.15 is constant factor. So H is now inversely proportional to the radius of the pore. Smaller the pore size, more will be the height of rise. So that is why in clayey soils, fine textured soils, we expect the water or capillarity process to be much more dominant compared to the sandy soils or coarse textured soils, because there the pore size is higher than this. So we call this as adsorption. So now we have two processes. First, which we discussed, that was adsorption plus capillarity. So this is soil water retention. So now in nutshell, if I say that for the water is retained in the soil through the process of adsorption, and the water which is present in the capillaries, which we discussed just now, this will be absorption. So absorption plus adsorption, you cannot separate these two processes. So that will lead to, we say that that term is sorption. So we use a single term, sorption, which is adsorption plus absorption. So this is how water is retained in the soil. I hope the things are clear. Thank you very much.